pods of pelicans are known for working together and caring for their young. Join Louisiana Right to Life in protecting the vulnerable as we share pro-life stories, insights, and news from the Pelican State. Welcome to the Preaux Life Pod.
Hey everybody, Ben Clapper here with Louisiana Right to Life. Welcome to the Preaux Life Pod, Louisiana Right to Life's podcast where we share all things pro-life, news, insights, and stories from the Pelican State. We're so happy to have you on today. This is our introductory episode where we're just going to give you a little bit of a taste of what we're going to be doing in this podcast. And I'm joined by Louisiana Right to Life's Communications Director, Sarah Zagorski. Hey Sarah, welcome to the first Preaux Life Pod.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this podcast. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's kind of like we should have done this 10 years ago, right? I mean, we've kind of missed all this time of people listening to podcasts, but better late than never, right?
Absolutely. And so many people today listen to podcasts on their drive to work or wherever they're going just to catch up on news and things like that. And we need to do that in Louisiana, and that's what we're doing now.
That's right. I think one of the things that I think we should do in this the Preaux Life Pod, and that's Pro with Preaux, Louisiana style. Preaux Life Pod is, there's so many people in Louisiana who have profound stories in their own personal life about all kinds of things that touch on or make a touch to the pro-life movement in so many different ways. And I think one of the best things that we can do is highlight those stories and share those stories. What do you think?
Absolutely. There's so many women that have been served by pregnancy centers in the state. There have been so many women that have shared their testimony being hurt by abortion, right? That we hear all the time at, our big events and stuff like that. But we have the remarkable opportunity, I think, to interview some of those people and talk to them and bring that to our listeners to hear about their stories. And just also not just on the side of the post-abortion women, but the women that have been supported in Louisiana by the pregnancy centers in the state. And I think that this is a great opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, I also think of maybe men who've been impacted by abortion, whether
Yeah.
through lost fatherhood. I think it is the people, the women and the heroic people who work and volunteer
Mhm.
in pro-life pregnancy centers around this state who are really loving them both. We need to hear from those people. We need to hear from people who, maybe themselves could have been aborted yet are here with us today. I mean, I go back to thinking about people like David Scotton from I Lived on Parker Avenue. We need to get David on to share his story again. So there's just so many profound stories out there. And this is,
Mhm.
people shouldn't have to come to our events to hear those people's stories. They should be able to hear them here on the Preaux Life Pod.
Yeah, and I'm always like amazed when I go to different functions and things like that, that some people are touched by abortion all over the state in one way or another. The last reporting we had on the data of abortion in Louisiana was that over 7,000 women chose abortion before Roe was overturned. And those women are still in our state and are still hurting and need people to reach them. And this is just another avenue to reach those women and also to bring truth about what abortion does to the unborn baby and what it does to its mother. And this is a great way to do that, is to reach those women as well, as whether they're listening online or watching our YouTube channel, whatever it might be. This is a way to reach them as well.
That's right. And we are going to have some things that are heavy, but we're going to have some things that are light at the same time. So
Yeah.
one of the first interviews I'm going to do is with Jenny Casey, and Jenny is the owner of the Mommy and Me 4D ultrasound studio in Mandeville. And the neat thing is she's a registered sonographer, but she has women and families come in for like the highest state-of-the-art technology ultrasounds, and she's going to be sharing about what she does with ultrasounds, about the technology, also a little bit
Mhm.
about what she sees and kind of fun facts in ultrasounds. So that's just kind of an example of one of the things that's going to come up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And ultrasound technology has definitely changed everything about the pro-life conversation. We know that, when women see the unborn child in the womb, they're 90% of them change their mind when it comes to the abortion decision. So I'm really excited, looking forward to that podcast, particularly.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we were trying to figure out amongst our team, what are we going to call this podcast? We kind of went through a few different names. We have everyone probably who knows Louisiana Arts Life knows that we have our PREAUX Pro Life car magnet that goes around. We use that all the time. Go Tigers, Pro Life. So the Pro Life podcast is something that came up. We kind of thought about that. we always love the pelican, right? The pelican is the Louisiana state bird. Pelicans on our flag. But we did a little bit of research and we found out that a group of pelicans is called none other than a pod. Go figure, right? I mean, the pod, people call podcast pods all the time. So we were just like, this just needs to be the Pro Life Pod, not only because it's a podcast, but of course because a group of pelicans is called a pod. So here we are on the Pro Life Pod.
Well, interestingly, Ben, I don't know if you knew this, but the pelican specifically during the 1960s and 70s, coincidentally, was on the extinction list in the state of Louisiana. And it's been a big success story for them that they have come off that list because of conservation efforts in the state, which I find it really a remarkable, you could say, paradox or coincidence that we have protected life in Louisiana. And, Roe was in 73. And now, after those 50 years, babies are finally protected in Louisiana, right? And we have this opportunity to talk about them in relation to this podcast. So I think that's just a real cool coincidence about that.
Yeah, and of course, to me, the pelican. Well, I didn't know that, and I didn't even know that a pod was a group of pelicans is also called a squadron and a scoop and a bunch of other names. But I've always loved the artwork that's based on our state flag, right? Which is
Hmm.
kind of the mythological, folklore, I guess, that the pelican, to feed its young, would actually cut its own breast. So if you look at the state flag, it's actually kind of red drops coming from the pelican to its young, which is a beautiful sacrificial pro-life image that Louisiana has. I dare to say Louisiana's flag is the most pro-life flag of all the states in the
Hmm.
country. So, there's just so much rich history, artwork with the pelican, even almost a Christological perspective as well. There's so much richness there. So, I guess we're going to fly with pods of pelicans with the Pro Life Pod.
Yeah, and another thing I'm looking forward to having people on about is the topic of adoption. I'm adopting myself, Ben, and I think that that's going to be really exciting to listen to the courageous story of birth mothers who chose adoption for their babies, and that's such a sacrificial. You just reminded me that thinking about the sacrificial nature of adoption. So we have a lot of content I think we're going to have coming to this podcast, not just about like pro life happenings in the news, but as well as life giving and cheerful, happy stories about women who have either chosen adoption for their child or someone an adoptee like myself who has been benefited from adoption. So I think there's gonna be a lot of great content coming out of this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And hey, look, if everybody out there, if you have suggestions of stories that can be shared on this Pro Life Pod, hop on to our website or social media, contact us, send us an email, info@prolifelouisiana.org. Give us your recommendations. And I know this is a new podcast, but everybody please like and share and subscribe or whatever you got to do to get the word out. Okay, so Sarah, for those people today who are listening who may not know who Louisiana Right to Life is and what we do, I mean, maybe we each can share in our own words, who is Louisiana Right to Life and what do we do? In your thoughts, what would you say?
Sure, Louisiana Right to Life was founded in 1970 to end abortion and other life-destroying actions through education, legislation, activism, and service. And we work in all four capacities, whether that's at the state capitol or educating youth in the classroom. We're always the person given that sound of reason about we need to protect the most vulnerable in our society, which is that unborn child, right? The child in the womb is the most defenseless person, the most vulnerable member of the human family. And that's what Louisiana Right to Life does in every arena, essentially, around the state. And I think that's something that's really beautiful about our mission is that we're not just at the Capitol, we're also running education campaigns. We're also educating young people, and young people are really the next generation of leaders, the next lawmakers, the next physicians, and those people need to be informed on pro-life ethics and also understand about the brutality of abortion and what it actually does to the unborn child and to its mother. So that's kind of how I see our mission, and I see it too as we have a lot of service projects too around the state. We do diaper drives. We do our Choose Life license plate program, which directly helps pregnancy centers. So we have a lot of different things that we're doing, but all of them is bringing that reality back into the public sector to say we need to remember the most vulnerable person, which is the unborn children, the handicapped, the elderly, those who have medical disabilities, those sort of things.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's perfect. We've kind of one thing that sticks with me is, Louisiana Right to Life is Louisiana's pro-life voice. We are the voice for the unborn child, the innocent, the elderly, the disabled, those who are weak. We are
Mhm.
their voice, and it's a collective voice of pro-life people in this state who care about defending life, who care about mothers, who care about adoption, and we're a pod of pro-life people who are standing together to defend life, to help moms, to promote adoption. And in a sense, we're that watchman on the wall. We are that defense of
Mhm.
human life, and we have in Louisiana the opportunity to share that light with the nation. Right? We need to be a leader in the pro-life cause.
Mhm.
And our elected officials are doing that. Our people are doing that through the service, over 35 pregnancy centers in this state, the
Mhm.
adoption agencies, so many beautiful service opportunities. So Louisiana Right to Life, we're that voice. We're honored to be that voice. We're so grateful for those supporters of ours who make our mission and our voice possible and make our voice be heard throughout this state. So, I've been with the organization now 17 years, something like that. So, a long time. And it's just an honor and a blessing to be able to to defend life, which is such a sacred gift that we have. And it's worth protecting. And that's what we do here at Louisiana Right to Life.
Absolutely. And I think that as you were talking, I was thinking about, it's really important for Louisiana Right to Life to continue on with our mission because when you abandon the most vulnerable in a society, you really open up Pandora's box for any of us to be next. And that's really the truth of it. It's best for society as a whole to protect the most vulnerable members. And Louisiana Right to Life is focused on those members specifically for that reason, because we recognize that protecting life in the womb, protecting life there is where it begins. And it's kind of like fundamental to our mission. So I find that very important. I've been in the pro-life movement since I graduated college back in 2012, and I've learned so much here at Louisiana Rights Life and other places as well about also the barbaric nature of the abortion industry and what it does to women and to their families. So I think all of those things are things that we in Louisiana Rights Life are constantly trying to expose to the public and share with the public so they're aware of them, because that's really what our purpose is.
That's right. Well, and I mean, you were in the pro-life movement even before you graduated college, right? I mean, all
Yes,
you were
yes,
speaking out, sharing your own story, which will need to be its own podcast episode for you to share your own personal story and
yes.
your whole life story that brought you here. Well, I mean, it's gonna be a great podcast. We look forward to it. Everyone, you're going to be hearing from different members of our team as well across the state, and we need to do one on the history of the pro-life movement, so back to like the
Mhm.
early 70s as well in the state, before our time. So we'll have to call some of our board members and those who were there from the beginning on. So everyone, please like, subscribe, follow this podcast. We're going to be on YouTube, but we're also going to be on all the audio podcast formats. Check out the Pro-Life
Mhm.
Pod, share it with others. We're looking forward to it. Sarah, any last thoughts as we close off this introductory episode of the Pro Life Pod?
Don't forget to send us your recommendations for guests. We're looking forward to having a variety of guests on our show. So just please send those into us and we'll love to consider them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for joining the Pro Life Pod today. Let's keep lighting the way to a pro life Louisiana. Have a great one.